Hello, hello. So to start straight away, we're going to be talking about what can you do to prevent data breaches in 2025-26. And well, of course, we have an overview of the recent cyber attacks. The solutions are, there's a ton of tools, policies, and of course you can do a lot of legal, make sure the legal side is done right within your company. And raise awareness within your company, just to make sure everyone's aware of actually what's happening. Well, we'll dive into that in a minute. So we are here. So we have Jari. I hope I pronounced it correct. Welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Andre. Thank you for having me.
And I'm Andre. So we're Valo and ISV Forum. So Valo is a company. They're devoted to improving Salesforce security and at the same time reduce cost and complexity, because this topic is definitely about it's a complex topic. So if you're watching this, I assume you're in the Salesforce ecosystem, and preferably you're also active with Salesforce. Being a platform owner, product owner, administrator, anyone who really works with Salesforce. Now, who are we? So I'm Andre, founder of ISV Forum and also a Salesforce consultant. And fortunately, I have been involved in quite a few data breaches. So I caused one even, also detected a few and prevented data breaches in the past. And then we have Jari, the CEO of Valo and co-founder. And he's an expert on the topic of security and especially Salesforce security. So welcome. You want to maybe tell a bit more about yourself? My introduction was quite short.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for all you do for your customers and for the community, Andre, and ISV Forum. What an exciting forum. And thank you for having me. So my name is Jari, originally from Finland, but been based here in San Francisco, California for the past 20 years. I did a long career at Salesforce, so worked in the mothership in the platform engineering and product management group, and built a lot of trust and security features into Salesforce, making it easier for admins, architects, the community customers to use Salesforce and have more trust storing sensitive information in Salesforce. And some of my products that I worked on is a free utility in the setup menu called Salesforce Security Health Check. You might have used it to see what is the password policy, click checking policy, specific types of system configuration level properties are turned on, and what is the value. And the tool gives anyone who wants to kind of do a quick assessment, a quick overview. But then I also worked on some paid capabilities. So I was one of the founding product managers for Salesforce Shield, which of course has 3 different products. There's the encryption, there's the event monitoring, and then there is the field audit trail capability to really help with compliance with some of the more complex Salesforce customers. And and yes, it's a paid product, 30% of net spend. It is quite expensive to acquire, but it gives of course all the checklists for many companies to build and start building their defenses on Salesforce. And then after Salesforce, I worked for ServiceNow in a bit of similar role. ServiceNow, of course, a different platform targeting more IT buyers. Built a product called ServiceNow Vault and kind of foundations to help ServiceNow expand from the IT buyer to other workflows. And then 2 years ago, we looked into the kind of security of business systems like ServiceNow, like Salesforce, Workday, NetSuite, and concluded that we are going to see more cybersecurity problems arriving from third-party apps, third-party risk, connecting to Salesforce as a business system, and having kind of, I guess, the good and the bad. Like Salesforce is an open platform, you can connect easily with other systems, but the way that permissions and access control is designed is often quite generous, liberal, and hard to monitor, which gives room for impersonation, evil twin, data breach, data leak type of scenarios, which is a problem. And unfortunately, now this last summer has been a very active summer when it comes to cybersecurity incidents. I think we have seen almost 900 Salesforce customers compromised and going through data breach. So very brave of you, Andre, to admit that you have been both on both sides of causing problems, but also solving problems. So that's a little bit about me. Yes, I'm an administrator, architect, CEO, working on improving Salesforce security in the ecosystem.
All right, nice. Thank you. Good to having this conversation. I just heard you mention evil twin. What does that mean in this context?
Yeah, so evil twin. Thank you for the question, Andre. So evil twin is a kind of a way of impersonating either a human or an app, and especially with applications, it refers to, like we have seen now with the data loader. You're using a malicious version of something that exists. So perhaps LinkedIn or or a DocuSign. You actually create and use an evil version of the original application, and then you trick users to installing a fraudulent, malicious version of the original. And this kind of impersonation and kind of category of having something that looks the same, so twins, you can't tell them apart. So for us humans, then when on the surface it looks to be like the friendly and the good application, the good twin, we think it is, but actually it's an evil twin. It's a malicious version of something that we kind of connect as a good app. So analyzing applications, understanding where they connect from, how are they made. These days in the era of AI, it's very easy and quick to create apps and solutions. I think it's very important for us to stay vigilant when we click and install applications, that what they actually are, and have security scanning, analysis, monitoring, to remain vigilant when we connect things to our handsets, phones, as well as then cloud applications alike.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I can imagine, especially an app like the Salesforce Data Loader, it's very, I would say, very easy to recreate, because it's such a simple UI, and it's something. If I'm working on a data migration, I use it, maybe for a few weeks or a few days in a row, and you open it 100 times, and if you need at some point it changed, you don't look at it because I've used it 10 times already today. Maybe there was an update in between or something like that, but because you're busy, you just kind of click next, and you're done. I can see how that's even when you're experienced and maybe aware of this type of threats, it can still be quite easy to get fooled into using a different version.
Exactly, and I think the versioning is also that they are obviously these deliberate, targeted attacks, but they are also unfortunate, unwanted consequences of engineering issues or vulnerabilities or problems and misconfigurations that can result in an unwanted scenario. And then there are, of course, things that are completely out of our hands, like the recent Salesloft drift issue, where an entire ISV marketing application was attacked and breached, and then all the keys to Salesforce instances using that particular application were accessed by the cybercriminals, and then accessing the account, case info, contact info from those Salesforce instances. So how to monitor against that? Obviously, knowing which IP addresses are requesting such information, monitoring the use. Are they doing something that these apps have never done before? So I think a lot of this new era in cybersecurity is about observing humans and AI and apps for what they actually do. Is that abnormal? Is there some behavior that we haven't seen before? And that can be the only way of really truly knowing that something is wrong.
Yeah, not true. And sometimes it can just be non-malicious intent. Like, for instance, what I said, I was involved in a data, well, technically not a data breach myself, but once I was deploying a Experience Cloud, like a portal on top of Service Cloud, and there was this setting misconfiguration, which then opened up to a certain group of users. So potentially they could have access to it, and it only lasted, I think, 90 seconds. Good thing is, we had Shield in place there. And with all the monitoring, I deployed it, realized something was wrong, fixed it, and but those 90 seconds, like something could have been seen by someone. Luckily, with all the logging we had, and also with help from Salesforce, we actually not decided how you said it. We found out that no one had looked at any of the records or any of the fields that they shouldn't have seen, so it was good. But in the end, we still had to treat it as if it was a real data breach because we didn't know, and there was this potential gap. But for the most recent ones, you probably have a bit more information, or maybe even screenshots or news articles about them.
Yes,
as in
so
more than I have. Can you share a bit of that?
yes, absolutely. So let me share my screen. So unfortunately, yes, there's been a lot of recent data breaches and news, not in a very positive light. We're coming from, very known brands, Marks and Spencer, Harrods in Europe, and then Google, Cisco, and so these two groups, Shiny Hunters and Scattered Spider, have been these two groups targeting specifically customers using Salesforce. And let me actually show a quick slide on how these organizations have been operating. So we all know, of course, connected apps. So connected apps, of course, come in two forms. So you can connect applications using your own Salesforce account, and there's a way of then seeing that usage in a setup page. And in that setup page in Salesforce, you have also kind of information of user count, how many users are using a particular app, and you can block them or you can install them. But that's kind of like the information you get, which is not a lot. And then you have this managing connected apps, which are then globally what Salesforce calls trusted connected apps. And these apps are, of course, then apps that then all users may self-authorize to use. And there's also a lot of Salesforce self-developed apps, as well as then ISV apps, of course. And those are following in the ISV Forum. There's, of course, now changes happening related to the permissions that Salesforce is introducing, who can install uninstalled apps and then turn them into trusted apps inside Salesforce. So you need to kind of consider this if you have non-admins or and the privileges default for admins, but those that are not admins may not any longer being able to install ISV apps. But getting back to this attack chain, so of course the last month has been quite a active one in the Salesforce security world, ranging from Louis Vuitton, Harrods, Adidas, Qantas, Air France, Workday. Many companies have been not just attacked but breached, and then these are public companies, so they have to tell their customers that they have lost the customer data. They have to do a lot of work around enclosing the information to their end customers, that their information is spread out. So how are these groups operating? So for those who haven't been maybe read on this information yet, so Scattered Spider, they are groups that they operate mainly from United States and UK, United Kingdom. They speak fluent English without any accents. So often these companies who may have outsourced customer support teams, they might be consultants, they might not be fully trained and equipped with all the details around how to operate in these kinds of issues. They often are contacting the customer support because then they have extensive privileges inside their Salesforce org, and they trick them to use OAuth device flow and connecting a fake version of a data loader, which generates, where you put in the login URL in the data loader, creates an 8-character code, and then you can actually connect to login.salesforce.com/setup/connect, and you enter this 8-digit code. So about a few weeks ago, Salesforce now entered this and added this orange banner of a security alert for anyone to use OAuth device flow to be aware of the issue that this can connect. So it's similar if you ever been connecting with Apple TV, or you're using your phone, you scan the QR code, you create a code. So I think the bigger question is that should an enterprise system like Salesforce support this type of a mode, and how to really turn it off to begin with, if you don't want enterprise systems to connect. But either way, that's what they've been doing. They trick the customer support employee, usually in another country, to say that they're from IT. They need to run a test, and then they don't actually ask any kind of password or MFA code, but they're telling that, hey, I'm just going to give you this code. Can you input this on the screen? And then they add the data loader and then start exfiltrating data from the organization, which usually is a kind of the standard pattern and resulting into a extortion, kind of Bitcoin type of extortion scheme. And from our company perspective, of course, when any new application or something new enters a Salesforce environment, Valo is observing, and the all-seeing eye is seeing if we see any kind of evil twin, bad apps, or you already have one in your org, and then that starts to behave strangely and exporting data from Salesforce environment, we fire an alert. So that's really kind of the path, Andre, that we have seen, and unfortunately now, as we saw from the logos, that quite many known brands have been impacted.
Yeah, no, indeed, and I can also imagine with that type of company, the costs that are involved in fixing in the whole aftermath and everything is probably quite big. But then if you have a look at what can you do to let's say prevent this, or maybe even assume that you've been breached, and take how do you say it, like prevent it from happening, or know how to deal with it when it happens. But if you then have a look, that's probably the cost is quite low compared to the cost of actually being breached.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the challenge, of course, is that in these scenarios where it's not a specific vulnerability that the customer exploit is the hackers or the cybercriminals are exploiting, they are walking through the front door. It's social engineering, but there is a method of using also the known applications in the ecosystem, but they are using bad versions of those and connecting to specific Tor networks and IP traffic. It is not impossible to detect them, and that's been something that we've been very busy with Valo throughout this summer, working with customers to first to inform and enable about what's going on, so they can stay informed, but also then to make sure that Salesforce is monitoring these. The Salesforce environment is usually monitored overall. There's unfortunately, you'd be surprised how many customers are not really looking into Salesforce security. It's kind of like how would I say, assumption for many customers that Salesforce is taking care of all of the security. And if you look at the standard Salesforce response, they call it the shared security model, meaning that they provide the tools, but it's up to you as a customer to use them. And I'd like to say that we want to help customers to make the right decisions with those tools, because not everyone is a security expert, and sometimes like you had those 90 seconds, you might make a mistake. So let's all try to stay vigilant and understand what kind of are the right security decisions to make. And and often I also understand the workaround that or the shortcut that sometimes we as humans, like we want to make our work easier, so we want to give tools, we want to give privileges to our colleagues. So as an admin or an architect, you might want to make your life a little easier by eliminating requests and tickets coming to you, by giving your colleagues or sales VPs and solution architects more access than they actually need in order to make your job easier. But those are then the problems where privilege and access keeps expanding and creates a room for this type of horizontal movement inside Salesforce and increases security risk.
Yeah. Indeed, and so looking forward, because of course, you mentioned this is more of a social engineering, the breaches that happened in the last 30 days or recently. Do you expect any other type of risks or breaches looking forward?
I think this situation is going to get a lot worse before it gets better, unfortunately, because we are now seeing the rise of AI agents, and the kind of the policy is not a guardrail. The fact that you tell that this is the way it should be, you have to implement a hard physical limit. You have to build a wall, and unfortunately, those walls are quite thin or non-existent in many cases. So if we now think about this scenario where we are without AI agents, and now we are introducing AI agents into the mix, these are also tools that the cybercriminals are using. They are very smart, and they can very quickly look for secrets, other things they can find in the data of these environments. I think the real response is to fight cybercriminal AI with AI defense. I think you need to be able to now create this new type of digital defense and fight the volume of these issues in a new way. And that's, I think, it's the exciting part of it, like, building new solutions, of course. And I don't want to paint a negative picture, but and definitely there are cyber problems in the future, and we need to be vigilant to build new types of defenses. And my bet is on the observability area, to observe, because it is very difficult in the future to know, is this my face or is this AI talking? And how do you differentiate the voice, in impersonations in so many different forms? We are going to live through a very interesting transition in the coming months and the coming year.
Yeah, no, that's indeed a funny example. I also saw a video of indeed someone's trying to do a job interview with an AI agent, and I think they were not even there, or they were doing something. So I think they also asked, like, can you do something like this?
Right.
And of course, that AI, didn't do that. But
Yeah.
that's a relatively easy solution. But indeed, in a business context, where you're working with remote colleagues, I can see how that's, which is what most customers or companies do. I can see how that's an increasing challenge.
I would add there that, like, as a tip and a guidance, if you are an administrator, consultant, architect, you get a request from a colleague who requests you to make a sensitive change in Salesforce. Always get a video call. Just, it takes you 1 minute to talk to a real person, where you're getting this message. Is this really happening? Just a short little validation that, like, and these kind of little checks, yes, they take time and they slow down the development, but it is important to remain vigilant. So the better we can also train ourselves in a new practice to think about security in our processes, the more secure we will protect the customers or the data that we are safeguarding.
Yeah, indeed. So is it safe to assume that definitely the let's say the people and the human behavior, so to say, and the trust level, that's also like a big factor that companies will need to keep in mind. Like, it's not only about the tooling, but really just behavior, and still people should still be able to do their job in a creative and happy way, without everything being automated or locked down.
Of course, there's always this, like, eternal question that, like, how much security is enough, and is security killer of the productivity? But I think it is possible to find and strike a balance. We do have the great tools, in monitoring and data protection and validation, and then also in training and spotting the things that are suspicious or feel that little off. And I think I feel inspired and believe in the future that the human creativity is here to stay. And when it comes to Salesforce projects and abilities to create fantastic customer experiences, is there, and I think it's just our jobs to rethink. We've been very much humans in this human-centric world, and now we need to start thinking about the fact that these AI tools and apps can do 1,000 times what we do as humans. And how do we need to think about then the probability of misconfiguration issues, or things that you make an issue, you expose something for 90 seconds, you might have a bot or a script already in that 90 seconds download part of the data that happens. So we need to be really careful, even more careful, I think, now in this new world with Agentforce and apps.
In that sense, I have to say, I'm looking back now. I'm really glad. Let's say my breach happened about 6-7 years ago.
Right.
There were a lot less AI tools back then. But just before we sort of start wrapping up a bit, can you maybe tell a bit more about Valo, or maybe even show a little bit, like just to get an idea of what would it look like, AI tool to protect us from AI tools?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So Valo is a custom-built security observability tool for Salesforce, and we are available in the App Exchange. And let me show you one slide here. And in the words of our customer from Switzerland, Sankar from George Fisher, we provide deep, true understanding of what happens in Salesforce and the actions and ability then to act on issues. So here we have a couple of screenshots on the connection graph and all the details that what is connected to your Salesforce. So now related to these attacks, of course, Salesforce is recommending everyone to reviewing their connected apps and then moving them from the OAuth usage tab then to the trusted connected apps tab. So we provide insights, for instance, that what is the security score, what type of security or privacy and terms of service a particular application has, and what it can do with your data. If there is no privacy policy, how do you know that they're not reselling your data? They are maybe distributing it to other third parties. We also show who created the connection, who are using it, where is it connecting from Europe, US, Asia, and then we also provide details into Salesforce licenses and permissions, being able to visualize and compare permissions between users, profiles, permission sets, assisting you as admins to create a better and more secure Salesforce. And we offer a free trial for everyone. So I don't think there is any more better time than now to actually audit and catalog your security risk in Salesforce. So go and use the application, try it out. We would love to hear your feedback, what you think, and then if you think security is a top of mind priority for you, we will of course love to enter into a commercial conversation. So the pricing is only $1 per user per month. So it is not breaking your bank or your wallet, and considering the cost, or if there's any budget owners thinking about what is security going to cost, think about the consequences of the work, working with your end customers, getting back to them, hey, your personal information is being leaked to other places, all the kind of negative PR that comes from that. So I think for those reasons, security should be top of mind for everyone in the ecosystem today.
Yeah. No, thank you. And of course, I had a quick look at a trial, of course, before we started this, and it's interesting to see how many permission sets and profiles are in the org I tested this on. That actually gave a lot more permission than what we thought. Only because, well, I wasn't aware of it because we didn't actually keep the descriptions up to date. Which I'm happy to confess that, because it was my own org that only two of us have worked in the last 5 years. But yeah, I can imagine that could just easily happen for to any Salesforce environment.
Right. I think the challenge is that a lot of these business systems like Salesforce, of course, is not alone with this problem. The same problem is in, I would say, most core business systems, that they have started off as a SaaS solution, somewhat easy to use maybe 20 years ago. but now over the time they become part of business infrastructure, and they have thousands of different setups and configurations that then over time increase complexity. And when we think about access control and then the overall security parameter, often most organizations don't even know where that parameter is, who is accessing what data and where. So really important, I think, to start paying attention to that right away.
Indeed. And one thing I usually tell to, let's say, colleagues, like administrators, but also anyone really who either owns or manages a Salesforce environment or an external consultant who's responsible for one, I always advise do a security audit at least 4 times a year, if not around the releases, because the amount of things that kind of sneak in, but also standards change, the world changes, processes change, the environment changes. That also means you need to change your audit and keep your security up to date. Sounds a bit preachy, but I'm only saying it this way because I found out that a lot of companies just don't do it for a long list of reasons.
Right. And I would also make a call out, since we are in the ISV Forum, we are an ISV, to everybody to adhere to the security best practices and ensure that their terms of service, privacy policy, SOC 2 compliance, any ISO certifications are up to date and reported on the websites, reported on the apps, so that it is easier for everyone to make informed decisions around what are the safest apps for us to use, and then of course there's configuration related to those apps. So ensuring that you only give the privileges to these apps that you really need. You don't take too extensive permissions and then create more risk scenario for customers. So and often a big problem is that people are using their own personal accounts in integrations, or they are using one integration user to manage 10 integrations. You have a problem with one, now the entire user is compromised, and then maybe your big part of your business is at risk. And these are some of the recommendations my team and company are helping customers with. So really, I think important time for also ISVs to think about what type of security recommendations you are providing to your customers, and not just don't just do the easy way, do it the right way.
That's well said. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre.
Yeah. Okay, so I would love to keep talking, and especially because so far we've only talked about sort of preparing for a breach and what can you do. Then of course there's probably, let's say, 2 or 3 more of these podcasts that we can do about what happens during and after the breach. I think that's probably for next time. Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
Thank you, Andre. It's been a pleasure to be here. I can't wait to meet you again and discuss the post-breach situation, where unfortunately many customers now are living that reality. Maybe the call out is that if you are going to be in Dreamforce, we are hosting an event in the Valo headquarters 2 blocks away from the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco on the Monday, October 13th. After the Dreamforce bootcamp is done, you can walk over and we'll have a security panel discussion, other ISVs on these security matters. And we also invited some threat intelligence and law enforcement on the site to discuss what this current reality means. And then, of course, if you are in Dreamforce, feel free to find my contact information maybe from below somewhere, and feel free to send me a message. You have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn and drop a note, and we'll get back to you.
All right. Thank you. I just put at least the website here on the. So when we wrap up, there will be a QR code where you can also scan the QR code, and that takes you to contact page. So of course, for any questions, put them in the comments on YouTube, or on the contact form. So for now, let's wrap up. So just a quick recap. We talked about the recent breaches, which seem to have happened for the majority with the let's say social engineering. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then what can you do other than making sure your policies are up to date, raising awareness for this topic, and doing your let's say quarterly audits at least. So for now, that is all. Next time, we will talk about what to do during and after the breach or the post breach. And for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jari. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you, Andre.